Little audio test, make sure everything's coming through. Do we have the microphone on the voice and the guitar? Is everything sounding good? A free lick to start us off since we're back. Here's one that's been good to me lately is It's a bit of a keyboard approach where I'm going to play the same thing in 3 different octaves, and I'm just going to roll it straight up. So this is going to be a pentatonic thing, but it's going to be laid out differently, and I hope you guys can get a little something tasty out of it. We're going to take this pentatonic thing. We're going to literally play the same thing in 3 octaves. But it's really important that you play 2 notes and then 3 notes. And then we're going to move it up a whole step in a string set. And then a whole step in a string set. Slow. Getting the flow going. Let me tell y'all, I have been at it this month. It has been a month. Hashtag blessed. Don't let me sound like I'm complaining, because Lord knows I'm not. We have had just a great time playing music live. Using a strap, standing up in front of people, making music the way it should be made. I love it. I love it more than anything. I think that's the thing that keeps me wanting to come back and do live streams when I'm at home. Is there's something happening. There's an engagement here, right? It's like there's something where we can fellowship together. And I think that is what matters to me with music as a communicative thing and a community. And it's what makes it feel freaking good. It's what makes it feel rad. And let me just give you a quick recap here. At the beginning of September, we kicked it off with a hellaciously awesome Woodshed. Woodshed this year was Dan Huff. You guys know I love Dan Huff's playing. He came in the house and just wrecked shop. He was killing it. Tone was incredible. Playing was incredible. Everything that Dan had going on was just, he was in supreme fighting weight. It was incredible. Great energy. Great attitude. So humble and man, just really great. We played his new tunes, and they were incredible. And the next thing was we had Paul Gilbert there. We had Mark Letary, And here, let me go back to Paul. So we all kind of reminisce about Paul as the guy that we know from the Mike Varney era. I'm going to give you my hot take. I'm going to give you my opinion. My hot take is this. I think Paul's playing better now than he's ever played in his life. he still has the facility to do whatever he wants, but the things he's doing and the style that he's playing and how he's approaching his improvisations and stuff, it's so much more exciting to me. Not that it never wasn't great. It was just very, he had very much a metal tone and, licks that were sequential. Now he feels more unpredictable. And I personally like that in the kind of music that I like. He had this really big fat tone, and he was playing with, he's using his pedal board into Fender Twins. It was killer. Really, really great stuff. And, he did a bunch of Robin Trower tunes, and they were freaking awesome. Mark Lettieri was in the house doing his stuff from his newest record, which I really like it better than anything else he's ever done. Not to say that he hasn't done some amazing stuff. Mark, if you're watching this, I love your stuff, man. And Goon Squad will always be one of my favorite tunes. But the new stuff is so melodic and so catchy, and I really love it. It's the kind of guitar instrumental music that speaks to me. Trey Hensley was in the house, and rarely have I seen an acoustic guitar player play with that much authority and aggression, and not in a bad way, in a great way. Just like confidence. Oh my God, the confidence in his playing. It was just incredible. It was just really, really great stuff. And Woodshed, I left there as I always do every year, feeling more inspired than I had the entire year leading up to it. It's just being surrounded by not only that caliber of artists, but, being surrounded by, 100 people that are guitar lovers, community enthusiasts, community as in guitar community. The attendees inspire me just as much as the artists do. Getting to jam at the end of the night and seeing the growth over the attendees year after year and seeing their playing progress. That's almost like it makes me inspired to make sure that I don't fall off the wagon, and I keep trying to push myself to a higher level of excellence. That's inspiring, and I love it. So then from there, had some dates with Gary LaVox that we did, and some of the chord changes I was playing in that intro. That's how we kind of get into our live version of Broken Road, which typically is a like it's a very classic way to do it. We kind of kick it off with this thing, and then we get into we do it like kind of a little smoother sounded. Again, it's like if you want to play that really traditional, I'd probably get on this like a real squeaky clean kind of thing, right? That thing. And it's an interesting part because the left hand doesn't push and the melody does. Right. That really neat intro. I think it's really neat though. Very kind of Jeff Beck-ish. It's that kind of thing. So we did some gigs Dallas and a few other places. And then we went to Germany for Guitar Summit, which was exceptional. There was some super, like, way overdue moments, right? I've been friends with Martin Miller for 15 years, and he's been one of my bros. And Martin and I finally got to play some music together. We did the Pat Metheny tune Travels together. And then at the, big mega jam at the end, we did that together. So I was on Saturday night hosting the main event, and we played, 5 or 6 of my tunes. And then we started bringing in all the different guests. Alex Skolnick from Testament, Frank Bello from Anthrax, Billy Sheehan, Andy Timmons, and we did No Quarter, and it was incredible. Had a great jam on that. Andy Timmons and I also played one of my tunes, which is and let me tell you, AT just smashed that song. He smashed it. It was great. And then we had Thomas Blug, and who else was on that jam? Joey Landreth. We're going to get to that in a second. But Chris Buck and I did the tune Till Summer Comes Around by Keith Urban. That tune was just given Chris. If you don't know Chris, he's from Cardinal Black, and he does the Friday Fretworks Spectacular Player. But giving him that kind of thing to play over, woo, he did work on that thing. And Joey Landreth. I've known Joey for many, many years, and Joey and I have never had a chance to do any proper playing together. We did some jams, sat in at a bar gig one night in Toronto. It was me, Joey Landreth, and Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. That was a really cool moment. But we've never had like a proper on-stage thing. So Brothers Landreth are playing Friday night, and they invited me to come up on stage and play a couple of tunes with them on Friday night. And then, of course, I had Joey out on Saturday night, and it was incredible. Joey, man, God, what a player. Band was fantastic. His brother David, I believe, Dave, is the bass player. And man, their harmonies with the drummer. Golly dang, y'all just really need to get some of that Brothers Landreth music. You need that in your diet. It is fantastic. Great slide playing, great guitar playing, but most importantly, just great songs. It's like the songs really, that means more than any of the other ingredients, right? The technique or the tone or the amps or the strings or any of that stuff. The songs are so good. Incredible. So that's been my month. That took me 18 minutes to get through that. But it took me a whole month to actually do it in life size, right? To do it for real. So with that said, I had some really big takeaways in live guitar tone that you guys may, I don't want to say this. I changed my setup a little bit. And sometimes recently I've really been preferring to use this SL68, this Sur amp. It's 100 watts. It's basically a big plexi. And it's really warm sound. And it's what I'm playing through right now. I'm playing the Sur in my pedal board into the Sur, into the Universal Audio aux. And that's coming to you guys. Now, live, I've been wanting to use stereo effects. A lot of you guys know that Andy Timmons has been a good friend of mine for well over a decade, and he's, I'm always taking notes anytime I'm around him. And he's been a mentor and a friend and a hero, and I knew it was time for me to get to stereo. It's where everything needs to end up, in my opinion, for a live signal to do the thing that I want it to do. The things that work for me. And so the problem with stereo in application is you need two of everything. So you need two heads, you need two sources of cabs, you need, you got to have all this stuff. And I'm seeing a question pop in from T down here. It says no Bella. I'm still using the Bella with Gary LeVox in stereo, but for my solo stuff, I'm using the SL68. So where it ends up is, by the time you're going to put something on the road and you're going to have your band and a guitar tech and you're going to be out there doing it, you need 4 of everything, because you need a backup to each head. You need backups to, and it becomes where it's like, you can't do it. It's like, short of not being in a gig like LeVox or Flats or Metallica or something like that, when you're doing it yourself, it becomes very difficult. So you see why Guthrie Govan is using a Fractal FM9 and 2 of those two Laney powered cabs, because you can put that in a truck, and if you have a backup Fractal, you're kind of good to go, right? You can put that in a bus. But I'm using this and these pedals, and I wanted stereo, so I've been test mule. It's been test mule time, and testing the 2 Notes Reactive Reload 2. Now, this was recommended to me from Dave Friedman and Pete Thorne. Both of them were like, this thing's awesome. You get a stereo effects loop, and you get 2 sources of power, and it doesn't color the tone. So we did it at Woodshed. Now, granted, everything I'm about to say is gonna sound egotistical, or it's gonna sound like, I think my poop don't stink or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I was very happy. Fair? Okay. At Woodshed, I'm set up right in front of the drum riser, and then guests to the left and guests to the right, and immediately to my right is Dan, and immediately to my left is Paul Gilbert. And Dan, we're going over his tunes, and I was playing rhythm guitar for Dan. Yeah, Daniel's saying, talk more about the 2 Notes. Yeah, this is the 2 Notes does not have cab emulation. That's really important. The 2 Notes is just the power amp and the split and the effects loop. It's basically like having 2 Fryette power stations and a switcher like in one box. Obviously, it's not Fryettes, but that's how I previously would do it, right? This is like you can have everything in a rack, and it's 2 of them, 2 power amps and stereo effects limit, but it does not do cab emulation. Okay. So I'm doing my thing, and Huff's next to me, and he leans over, and I've got the rhythm parts to his song down, and I'm doing that thing, and on the ballad, the ballad's and we're playing this, and then he kind of leans over to me at sound check. He goes, God, that sounds great. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me. I grew up, just worshiping the sonic landscape that Dan Huff would put on a record, to have Dan just lean over and be like, man, that sounds good. Are you stereo? How are you doing your stereo? What compressor is that? Like, Dan Huff is asking me. And I was thinking the whole time, I was like, it's very ironic that you like this, because I've kind of tried to pretend to be you for 25 years. So there's that, right? But Dan is next to me and giving me these glowing compliments. And, we had the band sounding great. My buddy Travis Toy is on steel. Steve is on keys. Jim is on drums. Kimbrough's on bass. Ben was playing some rhythm guitar at one point. It was just, the band was killer. Eli on fiddle. It sounded great. It sounded just huge. This was at Woodshed. And I was like, okay, this works. This sounds good. Now, fast forward to the next aspect, which is out with LeVox. I told the boys, I was like, hey, I want to try some stuff. I want to try to be stereo live. So LeVox, we had to do a couple of private gigs. One was for Coca-Cola, like corporate Coca-Cola. And the footprint of the stage was kind of small. So I had you guys, have I got one in the room? No, it's in storage outside. Okay, so I've got a diesel cab that is a stereo cabinet. So you can have, a 212 and a 212 basically in one 412. So I took that. And the Bella head. And so the Bella head into the 2 Notes again, into the stereo cabinet. So now I've got the footprint that's about the size of that situation right there. You've got the head on top, the 2 Notes on top, and a 412. And so the Universal Audio makes the aux software Now, it doesn't provide a load, but they make the software in a pedal-sized item, and it's the aux stomp. Well, because the 2 Notes has a load on it, I can line out of the 2 Notes and get the cabinet emulation out of the aux stomp. So we go into sound check, and this is maybe about the second or third time I've done it with Gary and that crowd. And the band, you know, they've heard me play till they're sick of it, right? But even the band was like, man, that sounds good, dude. We had it like split in the in-ears, okay? And then, you know, my monitor guy, Stu, love him. I've worked with him, you know, many times, a billion times. And Stu's like, hey, he's like, this is going to stay this way, right? Like, this is great. Like, we're keeping this, right? Yeah, okay. So now that squad that's like the flats guys have said, okay, this stays. I'm like, okay, let's check number 2. Boom, boom. Fast forward to Germany. I fly to Germany, and Sir has got a SL68 waiting on me, and 2 of their 212 cabinets. Their 212 cabinets are closed back cabinets, right? So they sound kind of like 412s. And 2 Notes was so kind as to have a Reload 2 waiting on me in Germany, okay? So I get to Germany, I get everything set up. Took my guitar tech, John Cooper, which is an important part of the story, and we get everything, and it hit it in front of house. It was like, you know, my monitor guys are like, what do you got over there? You know, other guitar players are like, hey man, what is that? You know, it's like everything's sounding really good. And I'm like, dang, yeah. So we do the gig. We're getting there. Sensei Timmons leans over to John Cooper. He goes, hey man, what's Andy playing through? It sounds great. You know, John Cooper was like, well, he's been testing this thing out. You can get your stereo here without having to take a lot of stuff, you know. In general, Timmons is always stereo, but at Germany, because he couldn't fly everything, he had, you know, he was doing the mono thing. He's like, it's sort of like this big, right? And you go like carry it, and like, yeah. So that was check number 3. So I will say, over the course of this month, I will now vouch full on that until somebody comes out with a product that can beat it, the Reload 2 has been so integral into my live rig. I don't think I've ever been happier with my live tone. I really don't. And that's even including the mega refrigerator days with the 2, the 2 heads, the diesel and the Rhodes. Like this is killer. This Reload 2 is killer. And any amp that doesn't have an effects loop, like even the Bella's effects loop is kind of this, it's got the ability to kill, dry, and mix, and it's a little convoluted. The Lone Star, the loop has like, it's not a series loop, and you got to balance levels, yada, yada. It's like, now forget all of that, because the Reload 2 will be after the power amp section. So it's going to not only be stereo, but it's going to be more true of live, like when you record your guitar dry and then you add your effects post on a bus. It's going to sound more like that because your delays and everything are coming after the power amp section. So now it's really true. And Pete told me that I was going to like it. He was like, dude, and it's small talking with Friedman one, what do you think of this thing? He's like, dude, it's pretty daggum killer. Like, you should definitely try it out. And so obviously Dave was at the gig and heard it, and he's like, man, I told you it's really good. And Dave had one of these power stations. You can see it kind of out of frame over there, and the power station's fantastic. Like, let me go on record to say it was my favorite. The only reason it's not my new favorite is because it's mono, and I can't do the split and everything all in one box. So the whole point of today's live stream is to really go on record and say, look, this thing is killer. 2 Notes does not have me on the payroll. I'm not one of those artists that is getting, paid to say this on a live stream or anything like that. This is just something that I've went on, as we all are. We're always in the tone chase to like improve and get things a little bit better. And for me, being able to go stereo has been, and let me say this, being able to go stereo without having to have a wall of stuff has been really killer. Really, really killer. And sending direct stereo lines to front of house and it being just as convenient as a aux or a reactive load. Boys and ladies, let me tell you, it's really good. And I know that because two of my biggest heroes were like, hey, man, what you got over there? And any of you guys know, it's the same when you're on the club inside and one of your buddies says, hey, man, what is that? You know, and Ben Eller's probably heard me play guitar. Ben and John have heard me play guitar more than any other guitar players, right? And plug in and hit a chord, and both of them are like, bro, dude, that sounds pretty good. You know, it's like, so there's some videos out there on YouTube that some folks have put out where we're doing No Quarter and Tush with Billy Sheehan. It was killer, and Running Down a Dream, and you can hear the tone. And it's like, yeah, man, it's really, really good. So that said, that's now just part of the situation. That Reload 2 is just part of the pack, part of the gig. So with that said, let's dig in here. Little housekeeping. We've got a ton of new t-shirts and merch over at andywoodmusic.com. The highly requested Chicken now has his own shirt. And then we've got one that's a headstock. It's pretty fun. We got one that's an amplifier. We got one that's a tube, which is kind of fun. So go over to andywoodmusic.com and just check out the merch if you like it. Cool. I feel obligated to say, hey, we got some new stuff. Go check it out. If you don't like it and don't want to buy it, don't buy it, you know. But if you do like it, cool. Other housekeeping, obviously being back in town, we're getting all the master classes and things like that rolling back with Patreon. So patreon.com /AndyWoodMusic. If you want to join in, get your lessons scheduled, get your, get in there on Wednesday nights, be part of our live Zoom master classes. Those are really fun. And obviously we go way into depth on all the stuff that I'm kind of glossing over here. Things coming around the pike is some long overdue pedal demos. I have got a ABY box for the Eric Johnson amp. So we're going to actually do a tube driver shootout on that. That's going to be coming at you. I'm going to be doing a Les Paul with the Floyd, the Access Les Paul. We're going to be comparing that to my Murphy Lab. I'm going to be doing that 1-to-1 comparison so you guys can hear what cutting out a bunch of wood does or does not to the tone of a Les Paul. And then what else? Oh, I'll be opening for Eric Johnson with my good buddy Daniel Kimbrough next on the 12th, just right around the corner. Going to be opening for Eric Johnson at the Bijou in lovely Knoxville, Tennessee. So if anyone's in the greater Tennessee area and wants to come on out. It's going to be a good night of music and guitar, that's for sure. I'm going to be playing some mandolin, which is going to be nice. We're doing a little duo thing, and it's going to be killer. So now let's dig into the fun part of the show, which is the Q&A, the old question and answer. The floor is yours, and we're going to turn over the situation to you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We got almost 150 concurrent viewers. That's fun. So it looks like some people want to hang out here in the Woodshed today. I'm going to start at the bottom and go back up because the bottom is right here and it's rolling. So Toto Guitar, how are you? We got TG3 High Andy. Great tone. How much do you cut the high end of EQ in your cab? It feels really warm. Toto, I'm not taking any one point of the high end and chopping it off. Usually within the aux, I'll start a little bit of shelf around maybe 13K, 12K, something like that. Something way up there in the artificial range. Like guitars don't need to live past 13K. So, but again, nothing's really chopped there. On the and in that I'm using a greenback. I think it's called greenback thick with a SM57 and a 121, or sometimes a 421 and a 121, just depending on those two things. In the amp actually is where a lot of that warmth is coming from. So I have the Sir set really clean. Here's how clean the amp is. And I've got it jumped, but I'm not using it to jump it up to get more gain. I'm using it so I can set that control number 1, volume control number 1. I'll set that at like maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, just enough to where if I hit it really hard with a humbucker, there's just a baby amount of breakup, baby amount of breakup, like pushed, not even broken up. And then I'll use control number 2, which is the thick woolly thing, and I'll roll that in till it gets nice and fat. And then on the pedals, I've actually got things set kind of bright on the pedals, like the EQ's boosting a lot of top end. Here's without the EQ. That's just the amp. Here's the EQ. So it's bringing some sparkle back, but the reason I do that is so my overdrive pedals are nice and warm. And then the gearbox, obviously doing way. It's like that really smooth thing. That's what I use gearbox for, is that really nice, smooth kind of tone. And then I've got the AT pedal set really bright for shred stuff. And then here's the Pantheon. Kind of a mid-gain thing. So it's, you know, if you take all that delay off, you can get that kind of fake, almost like that fake selective picking thing. I need to work on it more, but that's kind of, you kind of do that with it. This is like the tone that I use for like Junktown. Maybe we play that. Why not? Let's play one. Let's have some fun and play one, right? Oh, bring it up, bring it up. Where is it at? In the library of tunes. Let's see if this is it. there's you an in real time example of how I use that. That's the compressor and the Woodshed compressor and the Pantheon together, kind of making that crunchy mid gain kind of thing. Mad Max says, when he jams like this, is he hearing monitor speakers or an amp in the cabinet? I'm hearing monitor speakers. So my amp is over here, and if I had it coming through one of these cabinets, it'd blow a hole in the wall. Also, it wouldn't be able to let me have a good control over the sound that I send to you guys. So I'm controlling everything. All the analog gear is coming in, and the amps are hitting this UA aux box, and it's going into the UA Apollo into the computer, and the computer is doing the backing tracks. So, boom. Yeah. That's how we do that thing. So let's roll up. Dustin Chang is in the house. Dustin, I hope you're having a great day. He says, does stereo mean different effects and delay times? Is it different from dual mono? So only one side of the audience hears one delay. So I'm not doing wet and dry. I'm doing both wet. So if I have something like a pitch shift on, that means the left side is the one going down and the right side is the one going up. So if I have a pitch shift that's like -9 and +9, I have that thing going on. Delays will go and kind of smear together. You can do ping pong where it's like one side is a dual mono where it's like this side's at 500, this side's at 300 or whatever, you made 375 or whatever. But I use the Halo delay pedal, and I use it on the first preset, so it goes bum, 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 and it starts like smearing together. Really love that. Also, there's some cool gag effects that don't translate. Like right now, I'm in mono, and that sound. Hang on. Whoop. That's not bouncing for you guys. That's in mono, and live it would be stereo. And this effect's really fun. This is how I've been doing the Master Gracie's Manor. So when you hear that little ghost delay that sounds like this, that thing actually travels randomly across the stereo image. So it's really cool when you're in the room with it. And yeah, so it's like it does that kind of traveling around the situation, and is, you know, really yeah, somebody's like, it's trippy. It's like, yeah, it's really trippy. Dustin saying, wait, what you described with the delays isn't ping pong. So ping pong delays mean every single one bounces back and forth like this, bah, 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 like every single one. The Halo has a smear effect between left and right, and it just kind of starts washing itself into a reverb. You can hear it even in mono. So now when I start playing, let's go to a cleaner patch. Now when I start playing, it sounds like reverb. sounds like a reverb. But it doesn't cloud up when you start playing fast. That's why it's not a reverb. Okay. No. Yeah, here we go. But if someone else, okay. How does the halo setting work with reverb as well? I don't use those very often together. I use reverb almost like its own effect. So maybe my reverb's kind of set like this. So it's like when I'm using reverb, it's more for that, or it's more for that. That's right. So that little opening volley, that line, that's one I stole from Austin Crum. You guys need to check out his playing if you haven't. He's a monster player, monster telly player from here in East Tennessee. He's really incredible. So yeah. Oh, there's a lot going on in the chat. Did he also already talk about Woodshed experience? I did. How would you order your pedals in order of importance? What to go first? To me, the most important pedal, depending on the genre, would either be my Woodshed compressor or the gearbox. If I just have one pedal, I need one depending on the gig. Have you ever tried using a micro delay as a reverbish? Not really. Not say I just haven't tried that yet. Let's hit some of these big ones. Edgar, thank you for the money. The little beer money donation. Beautiful tone as usual. Please and thoughts and approach to Everybody Loves You by the Kennedy Wood Band. Yeah. That's a very much a kind of Merle Haggard-ish inspired tune, where it's got, you know, right love, right time. So like over those chord changes, I'm really trying to pretend to be, you know, somewhere between Brent Mason and Western Swing kind of approach. So over that root chord, rock guy may play like, and country bluegrass guy, you know, or more of a blues guy. And so the country approach is to have both minor and major third. Right? Have both. And then the next aspect will be adding some outside notes to kind of give it a swing feel. right? All of these kind of notes. So I'm using a lot of chromatics and a lot of enclosures and stuff like that. Maybe that's a good lesson for Patreon to get into that. But in general, I'm thinking 7, 1, minor third, major third, so 7. That's the harmony. And then when I go to the 4 chord, it's the same kind of thing. It starts getting real fun. It starts, I don't know, just like, it's like that's the kind of music that I really, really love. And especially, Brent's playing is just so fantastic. It's a really great tune. So I hope that helped, Edgar. Thank you again for the beer money. Appreciate you so much. Some folks are saying, welcome back. Thank you. It's good to be back. And yeah, we had a really great time. Octopus is saying a masterclass through JTC gives a 401.4 page not found. I'll check in with those guys, see what's going on over there. I don't really know. Hi, Andy and everyone. Quick hello from the south of France. I'll watch the video replay to get the subtitles. Love acting and speech. Well, thank you very much. And Cyber is in the house with a $5 beer bucket donation. I appreciate you, and I appreciate that beer money. He says, just got your 10th anniversary guitar in Rosso Corsa. What strings do you suggest? I was thinking 942, 9s to make it slinky. I use 9 to 46. I like the low end to still be kind of big. But yeah, 9 to 46, and I also have a 3 spring set up. So 2 of them go in like that, and 1 down the middle. That way I get a little more tension on the bar. So yeah. All right, let's roll on up. Did you try the Tone King Imperial preamp? I've not tried the Tone King yet, but my buddy Joe Wyatt, who sponsored the Wattage Cottage at Woodshed, does have one, and I actually would like to check that out at some point. Juka says, Andy, what are some of the benefits of stereo? I can think of delays being a big part. Is there anything else? Yeah, to me, the modulations, like if I'm going to kick off anything with a rotary, that's something that like it'll swirl left and right. That thing will get to swirling around too. So rotaries, pitch shift, you can even get your tremolos to pan, to where they're like swimming around you. I just think in general stereo it's just great. I just love it. Golly dang, I love it. And it's the thing that you don't really care until you're in a room with it. And then when you're in a room with it and you hear it, you go, boy, I can't really unhear that. Like, it's like, this is just where we live now. Braxel saying, I bet Fryette comes out with a version with tubes. Maybe Steve will, but I want to point out, this is really important when it comes to power amps and attenuators. You really don't want any coloration. You don't really want anything. You just want volume. You see what I'm saying? If you have more tubes for the sake of having tubes and for it to do something, now you're coloring the initial color of the amplifier. So think of it this way. What if, and I'm not saying the Fryette does because the Fryette's great, but what if the power amp sounded really boogie-esque or it sounded really diesel-esque? Well, now your Marshall doesn't sound like a Marshall anymore. It sounds more like a boogie. You see what I'm saying? So the most important thing with any of these type of items is that it doesn't color it at all. So I think that's really important. Tubes do not equate better when you're talking about just raising or lowering volume. The color of the amp is his own thing, and these units come after the power section of the amp. You're actually coming out of the speaker of the amp, speaker out into these units. So the amp is doing what it's supposed to do, and it's making the color sound correct. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. How's the adult beverage situation in Germany? Well, I'll tell you what, they do a good beer. I will say that. They do a good beer in Germany. Yeah. It was great. I'm just checking out a couple other questions here. Okay, Sebastian says, I have a skank banger kind of gig. I do it with stereo. You don't really need two of everything. If one night one of the amp fails, you go mono. I mean, here's the thing. Yes, but if you're on stage with Andy Timmons, Joey Landreth, Alex Skolnick, Frank Bello, Billy Sheehan, Dweezil Zappa, you don't want to go into limp mode. There is a negative return on that kind of mentality. There's always like, oh, it's fine, you can be mono. Dude, do you want to be mono when everything is riding on it? When everything matters? You don't really want anything to be down a gear. You want everything to be great. So backups exist for a reason, right? That's a thing. Anthony is in the house. Happy birthday, Anthony. He was treated by his loving family to a silver Andy Wood, sir. And I hope you really enjoy that thing. Sebastian says Joey's singing is great. Yeah, it's really great. Really, really great. If anybody's curious about the performances in Germany, there's a lot of footage that's already on YouTube. So, after the stream, take some time to scope it out. Some great playing for sure. Jarek says, I just put a set of woodbuckers into my Paul Reed Smith. They sound so good. These pickups need way more love and attention than I've ever seen. I'm really proud of these. These are kind of like, if you mix around the EVH pickup that's an Alnico 2 and the Billy Gibbons pickup that's an Alnico 2 with some Sir love in there because John has a great ear for pickups. I think the woodbuckers, they do it. They do the thing, So if you like those kind of fat, dark tones, thick, boy, they're really good. They're really, really good. Angela says, it was great seeing you at Summit, although I was too shy to say hi. Well, you should have. Next year, you can say hi. Braxel says, I'm curious, do you ever not wear a hat? No offense, I'm just curious. I actually do at times. I don't wear a hat. But at this point in the game, it became so much a part of like my brand that I'm just like, well, I need to get a good hat. I need to have a hat. If anybody wants to see the top of my head, jump over to my Instagram. There's plenty of photos with no hat on. I've not washed my hair today, and it's a greasy mess, so I'm not taking my hat off for this live stream. But if you want to see the top of my head, and it's one of those questions you need answered, jump to the Instagram. That's Andy Wood Music on Instagram. Scroll down maybe 2 or 3 rows, and you'll see a photo of me with no hat and my lady friend. So that will put one of those mysteries to rest. That said, it was one of those decisions that, like, I noticed, touring and stuff, people liked it, and it just started sticking. It just became a thing. So when we started playing out with the suits and stuff, obviously being in the South, cowboy hats are so much a part of the culture. Baseball caps are so much part of the culture in the South. But we started wearing the suits on stage to do the live Andy Wood gigs. I started wearing the big brimmed hats as a bit of an homage to my bluegrass and country background. So I've got, I'm leveling up all those jackets and stuff. I'm going to go to get a couple of the Manuel coats with the nice sparkles. A little, like I said, just a little homage to that Grand Ole Opry classic country thing where like a hat is so much a part of that presentation and that style of music and that history. it's just something I love, And Lord knows that if Slash can wear a hat, Billy Gibbons can wear a hat, and Tom Morello can wear a hat, there's probably room for me to wear a hat too. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Like anything else, it's like the Aviators. I don't play on stage without the Aviators anymore. It's just part of the thing now. It's like that started being a thing that I started seeing people within the industry, stage managers, like, yeah, you look good tonight, man. Keep the Aviators on. This is, especially with like Flats and Gary and stuff. And then it's like, well, now it's in the regular show, and it's just the way it is. So there's Hoodie, I look like crap Andy, and then there's on stage Andy. And it reminds me of this. I'm gonna show you this picture of my granddad. Even back when I was a kid, look here. Even back as a young kid, let me see if I can get my reference. Let's see. There's me right there playing mandolin. I was about, I don't know, maybe 12, and I had a hat on then. Me and my cousin, yeah, we had hats then. So my granddad, who's right here, he used to always say to us, there we go, now it's in focus. My granddad used to always say to us, boys, don't ever look like you just walked right out of the audience. When you play on stage, don't look like you just walked out of the audience. And so that really started resonating with me when we started getting these big offers and these bigger shows. And it had to be like, well, what are we going to wear on stage? When that inevitable question came around, I was like, man, we're going to wear we're going to do the suits and the hats and the matching guitars. There's there's little Easter eggs in all the things that I love. Like we got been playing a whiskey barrel bass that matches my brown whiskey barrel guitar, and I have the purple guitar that matches his purple bass. So we have a little bit of homage to ZZ Top in there. I'm a huge ZZ Top fan. So, there's just little nuggets in there where it's like you find the things that your heroes did, and, just like the playing and just like the tone, you just kind of like snag a little something. Like Slash always wore the black shades and the top hat. It's like there's little things, just little things, right? Keith Owens says, Andy keeps it real. He'll talk about everything. No subjects off the table. Yeah. And Superjet says, yeah, you got to have a little bit of flash. I mean, that's the thing, right? You want to go up there in your pajamas? Of course not. You got to do something that's yours. And I think that's the most important thing is you've got to do things that are authentic to you. If I saw somebody who came from LA who had no history with country western music, and all of a sudden they started wearing the Manuel coats or the nudie suits. Nudie is a brand. It doesn't mean nude like nude. It means nudie is a brand. And those are the suits that like Porter Wagner would wear with the sparkles and the big jackets, like George Strait or whoever, country legends. And you see the sparkles and the rhinestones. If you saw somebody from LA wearing a big brimmed hat and all that Western wear, you'd be like, dude, you're not, what? That's so phony baloney. But if somebody saw me wearing it and they said, well, hey man, how many Merle Haggard songs do you know? I'd be like, all of them. I know all of the Merle Haggard songs. What do you want to play? Crazy Arms? What we're going to do? We're going to do some, Willie Nelson tunes. Like, I love that culture. We're going to do Hank Williams. It's like, that's something that's entrenched with who I am. And seeing Hank Williams in the nudie suits with the big hats, it's just like, that's part of the game, It's like seeing Zach Top or Brad Paisley. Brad always wears a hat. And I think it's the same thing. Zach Top's the same way. It's like in country music, that's such a thing. And I know my music has a lot of distortion and probably too many notes and all this kind of crap. But I have a huge affinity for where I came from and a huge love for the background. I think asking me that is like, Andy, why do you play tellies? Like, is it a modern telly? Yeah, it is, but it's a telly, and I'm a telly guy. Like at the end of it all, it's like, I'm a telly guy, and there's, I'm always going to have an old deluxe. It's like, that's the thing, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's roll on some more questions. You get me caught up in the nostalgia. There is, it's easy to get romantic about the eras of the music that we love. You know what I mean? Like you see guys that are so romantic and nostalgic for things like Sunset Strip in the 80s, right? Like that's such a look. And then you see jazz bows. They always kind of wear the jazz bow kind of thing. Jazz guys look like jazz guys, you know. And, you know, gospel players and church players, they're a little more flamboyant, you know. Eric Gales comes from that background. And Eric he wears flashy stuff. He's flashy, you know. I like that. I personally want that. I want that to happen. It's like seeing the Fearless Flyers and the tracksuits, you know. It's all a thing. And for me, I look at my background and my history, and I just love the country music. I love the Grand Ole Opry. I love the Ryman Auditorium, and I love everything about the background that I came up in. And I think you know, a lot of even how I dress is just an echo of that love for those genres. So yeah, it's right here. It's right here in my hands. That's why I still play tellies when there's a million Hot Rod Super Shredder Fusion Monster guitars out there. It's like I'd see myself playing the Sir Modern, which I have. I have Sir Moderns over here. But I would see myself playing those moderns. I was like, brother, that's not me. That's not what I look like. And there's photos and videos of me playing with flats with no hat. And I go, that's not me. That's not me. You gotta be true to yourself, you know? So Dustin Chang has the inevitable question. Andy, I'm surprised with all the country love that you never got into Gretches. Brother, I love Gretches. I want one so bad. But because I don't have an outlet to play it in, it's like, I got a 335, but I want a Gretsch. I'm telling you right now, hey, everybody, we're going to call the shots. Pay attention. Next guitars I get, I want a resonator guitar that's like the Mark Knopfler thing with the round neck. I want a resonator. I want a Gretsch. I really want a Gretsch for sure. And I want the Sir JM that's like the Jazzmaster looking thing, but I want it with that raised middle. They did this hybrid Firebird looking thing. That's coming. That's coming my way for sure. So yeah, but yeah, man, I need a Gretsch. Daniel says, wait, you only buy guitars you need? What a loser, right? Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so there you go. So is Joe going to upload video recap from Woodshed or something else? We're going to have videos coming from Woodshed. I say, for sure. Do you think Danny Rabin would be up for Woodshed? Danny is a good buddy of mine, and I've already asked him let's figure out a year to do it. It could be next year. So I would love to have Danny from Marvin there. He is such a bad boy. He is a monster player. And here's the deal. Y'all got to hear Danny play like gypsy jazz stuff. I mean, it is, it's the best. It's the best. I'll say this. Danny's gypsy jazz guitar playing is as good as his trash talk and his trolling. And we all know his trash talk is epic. So, yeah. John Cordy, if John will ever make the trip over from the UK, John, we got your seat saved. You just come on over if you ever want to come to Woodshed. We'd love to have you. Hope you're doing good, buddy. Vi Sacharucci says, Gretches, but I can't do a Bigsby. So, I really want a Gretsch. I don't know which one I want because there's so many cool, you got the Country Gentleman, you got the really classic thing. Yeah, I don't know which Gretsch. What is it? The Falcon, that's a cool thing. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know which one I want, but I really want one. And Ronald is chiming in and saying, do you want a square neck on the resonator? No, I want a round neck on the resonator so I can play it like I do. So I can, I'm such a Mark Knopfler fan. I want that. I want that in my life. And the reason there's a couple of these things that I want coming at me, one being that Sir with the Firebird middle and the round neck resonator, is for the Kennedy Wood Band. We are doing an album, and yeah. Braxel says, I want a baritone guitar, but which one? Let me show you. This is my baritone, and the strings are so old that it's not going to sound good. The strings are just an atrocity right now. They're like rusted. It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Let's try to get it in tune. Okay, hang on. We're getting there. Let me get tuned up. It hadn't been played in forever. But this is my baritone. Yeah. Oh, God, it's out of tune. Let's try again. It is really cool, though. Woo! That is freaking cool. Show you how else it can be really cool. Check this out. It's got a lot of weird switches and isn't that cool? Isn't that a great guitar? This is what I used on Shoot the Sun Down. I love it, man. Y'all don't even know how much I love this thing. Yeah. So this is one I would definitely recommend. This is the Fender, I forget which, telly situation this is, but it's a baritone neck. And I think this is a modular thing that you can order the neck on a telly. But yeah, this is the Shoot the Sun Down guitar. And I wanted something really bright and vibrant because everybody plays baritones. Everybody's trying to look tough. I thought it would be really cool if it was a very vibrant, almost Jeff Beck, 60s Don Rich kind of look. I think this guitar is so cool. I do. That G chord sounds crazy low. Is it just the strings? No, it's because the neck is longer. The scale length's longer. So then you can tune it down. So the low string is that's a B, right? So Area 859 says, didn't realize growing up that EVH used a baritone on Spanked. Hey, heads up, not a baritone. That's a 6 bass. That's a 6-string bass, like a Dan Electro. So that's an octave down on Spanked. The low note is an E, but it's an octave of E. It's like if you tried to play Spanked on this guitar, it's not low enough. So yeah. But that's the EVH thing. And yes, it is the purple one, right? Mike Marquez says, what's the most expensive guitar purchase you've ever made? And what's the one you regretted? I don't have any regrets. I regret selling a couple, but I don't have a regret for buying anything. Most expensive singular purchase, and it wasn't because it's the most expensive money ever, but to me it was a fortune. And I'll tell you guys this story, and then we'll jet out of here. I was in my early 20s. I was maybe 20 years old, and I had recently dropped out of college. I was at the University of Tennessee for jazz, and I started getting some sessions. I was about 19, 20 as an acoustic mandolin player, and I was kept doing more and more acoustic stuff. And Down From Up was the rock band that I was playing in, and I was playing in nightclubs, as often as I could. And so I had taken out a loan against my car because I was making the full-on commitment to be a professional musician. And I took out like an $11,000 loan against my car that was paid off. And I went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and I bought that Diesel Herbert diesel cabinet and 2 Tom Anderson guitars. And that was my commitment to the industry. That was my commitment to music. That was me saying, and look, to a lot of people, $11,000 doesn't sound like the most money in the world. It's expensive. It is a lot of money, but there's a lot of people that spend, $50,000 on this stuff or $100,000 on gear. There's guys that have spent so much more than that. But at that moment in my life, I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to pay the monthly loan on it, and be able to pay my rent at the little apartment that I have. And it was the single hardest but best investment I ever made in my life. I was betting on myself, and I was betting on my work ethic, and I was betting on the lineage and the tutelage of my grandfather and all my mentors that I'd ever had. And I was betting on music to get me there, whatever that meant. But that $11,000 was terrifying to me at that moment in my life. So yeah, that's the one that sticks out. I know there's probably, that EJ amp that cost a lot, but that was the one, that was the scariest one. So yeah. All right, here we go. Bass 6 is the Wichita Lineman. Yeah, it is. Rebecca's saying, hi, do you like and can you play flamenco? I dabble. I love it. But I'll tell you who you really need to listen to out of the rock guys that you wouldn't believe could really rip some flamenco. Steve Stevens. That dude can rip some of that stuff. You know who else is really good at it that you wouldn't guess? Justin Derrico that plays with Pink. That guy can rip some of that stuff up too. But now that's more like, playing with there's like the Paco de Lucia thing. It's like a whole nother level where it's like, the style. But I'm just talking about just like, some flamenco stuff's really good. What is the best advice you would give to a beginner aspiring guitar player? Have fun. Yeah, have some fun. Make sure that anything you're playing and working on is because you love it. Don't let it become a chore. Like, try to keep the passion and the enjoyment and the inspiration at the forefront. Don't let it become something that's a chore and a job to you. Let it be something that gets you excited and chase things that you think sound cool. Don't let anybody tell you what's your level of learning and what's not. Like, if you want to work on giant steps, go work on giant steps. Every journey on the instrument and every journey in music starts with an initial step forward. So if your passion is really intense, dream theater songs, go work on them. You got to step that forward. There's not like, oh, I can work on it after I've been playing for 5 years. No, work on it now. Start. Like, dream theater starts somewhere, right? You got to be able to play a D minor chord. You got to be able to play an A minor chord. You can always start working towards the things that you love. Area 859 says, would you recommend a baritone or just get a 7-string? I think they're different because a baritone has a different kind of vibe to it. And to me, vibe is everything when you're trying to look for inspiration. 7-string, I end up and I just start chugging around. This thing makes me think of like spaghetti westerns and different kind of stuff. So I would get a baritone. I think baritones are a little cooler. They fit my hand better too. But I do have a 7-string, but I think this is cooler. Jacob Reynolds says, do you dig the Mulecasters? I don't know enough about them to really know. But on that note, guys, it's great to be back here. Thank you so much. We got 164 concurrent viewers right now. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. If it wasn't for you guys tuning in, I wouldn't continue to do this stuff. So thank you for spending your time with me on a Tuesday here at the Woodshed. If you're looking forward to more of this type of stuff, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we do my live Patreon masterclass. Join in at the combo tier. That's the combo amp tier, and that will get you access to the Zoom meeting, and we host it on there, and we go live for a couple of hours and get in the weeds on all kinds of good stuff. So with that said, again, little housekeeping. If you want to keep the channel going forward, Patreon's the answer. If you want to check out the merch or download my tones, axe effects, patches, all that kind of stuff, that's at andywoodmusic.com, as well as lesson combo bundles where you can get, like I played Junktown today, you can get the backing track, the tabs, and everything to Junktown on andywoodmusic.com. All of those kind of things live on andywoodmusic.com, as well as the calendar for where we'll be playing the rest of the year. Speaking of, I've got to update that because some more shows have popped up. So andywoodmusic.com for the calendar and downloadable goodies and t-shirts and those kind of items. And then, of course, there's patreon.com/andywoodmusic. And for Woodshed next year, we're going to have some good players. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be at woodshedguitarexperience.com. Thank you guys again for making Tuesdays awesome. I hope everyone has a great week. Go out, conquer the world, be blessed. I will see you guys very, very soon.